occupants evacuate with little or no assistance from firefighters. You're just kind of walking with them, walk next to them, help keep them upright. They're all gonna shelter in place, usually under, certain circumstances, so they're all in a nice, relevant location. They're away from the primary danger, in a situation where they're together, possible ease of removal, depending on your equipment, depends on the best way to get them out of there. Obviously, if you've got the aerial in place, that'd be the best way in this situation. If that's a second story, or that's actually first story, just right in the corner. So, best, easiest way to get them out of there, nice, quick, simple. So when rescue efforts are required, we need to take the specific actions, extinguish the fire, preventing any exit that they may have, possible provide them with an alternate exit, remove any debris, or, if we have to, we gotta carry them. So, improper lifting techniques, obviously you can get hurt, you can hurt them, so everybody's been through the proper lifting techniques at their employer, right? Straight back, use your legs. Obviously, if there's the ability, one or more rescuers, more rescuers you can do to lift them. Follow your safety guidelines and avoid any hazard zones while you're with the victim, if possible. If not possible, well, guess what? They're gonna get blown up out the door. So here's our techniques based on the appropriate situation. We've got the incline drag, the webbing drag, cradle in the arms, lift, carry, the seat lift, carry, moving victims onto a litter, and the extremities lift and carry. And these are all things that we will discuss. And actually we'll go ahead and probably train on a few of them as well, both for victim removal and for firefighter removal as well, so. So we're gonna go ahead and talk about firefighter survival methods. Lives of all firefighters are gonna depend on your survival skills, so you've gotta learn to recognize and avoid potential hazards, rescue lost or trapped firefighters, and escape unavoidable hazards. We talked about this a few times in other lectures, read that fire, anticipate what it's going to do, understand where you're at. Are you still in the growth stage? What do you see going on in that growth stage? What do you hear? Is it getting bigger? Can you tell that it's getting bigger? Anticipate its location, possibly the extent, same idea. Identify your construction type. That's something we've done when we pulled up with our quick 360. Do we have a potential for collapse anywhere? And understand where your entries and your exits and your alternate exits are, so that if something does go awry, you have the ability to get out. There's that risk-benefit analysis. Risk a little to save a little, risk a lot to save a lot. Okay? Anticipate those interior changes. As you're going in, what's the smoke telling you? What do you see? Are you starting to see in the smoke? Is it starting to get a little warmer? If you look up, are you starting to see those little flots of fire running through the smoke? Do you have everything you're going to need to finish that job quickly and determine if you need anything else? Always pay attention to your air supply. Okay? Scots, they've got a heads up display in their mask, correct? For your air supply? You got any sort of?
We got a deal that's like right here.
Okay, so you only got that. So the ISIs and
The mask has like the red.
the four lights,
Yeah.
right? Okay, so that's the heads up display. So based on how much air you have, depends on where the lights at. Yep. So understand and make sure, when you get to a certain point that you're halfway through your air, you gotta determine at that point in time, this is how far I got to get here, I need that much to get back, okay? So as soon as somebody's halfway through, it's time to turn around and go home. Cause if you go any further, you may not have enough air to get home, okay? And the 2 in, 2 out rule, or 3 in, 3 out, or however you choose to use it, depends on how much manpower you have, depends on which rule you're gonna be able to use at that situation. Most of the time, it's gotta be a minimum 2 in, 2 out. That's why prior to entry, it's very important that you both are full on air, right? Cause if I'm full on air and you're 75% on air, how long are we gonna be in? As long as you can go, not as long as I can go, okay? But just because he runs out of air before I do, does that mean I get to stay in and wait for somebody to relieve him? No. We were a team. We went in together, we leave together. Important guidelines before and during interior operations, we gotta consider that current and projected fire behavior and the structural stability of the place that we're at. Not necessarily always just based on the fire, right? If we've been dumping a lot of water in the second story, and there's a lot of water sitting on the floor, can that cause a problem? Okay, so water weighs what per gallon?
8 pounds.
Little over 8.2. So, start doing the math, 8 pounds starts building up real quick. So, understand that if you've got a lot of water weight sitting on that second story, that may be something you need to anticipate as well. So, and anticipate the effect of ventilation and the environmental conditions of the fire behavior itself. Which way's the wind blowing? Is it a gusty wind? Is it really humming out there? Is it, are you getting gusts 40 miles per hour coming through the windward side? Is that gonna affect your fire? Yeah. Always have a plan and always have a backup plan. This is what we're gonna go do, but if it goes bad, this is where our exits are at, this is how we're gonna get out. So we need to know how to survive a hazardous situation. Hazardous situation being entrapment, due to collapse, due to fire changes. Basic firefighting skills are also essential for survival. This is where that understanding how your air conservation comes into play. Situational awareness, understanding where you're at in a structure at all times. If you went into the A side and you went to the rules of the right, are you in the first bedroom? Are you in the second one? Always having a plan, and that's why we're always talking, so that I may be slightly confused, but you may not. You may say, no, we were in the first bedroom, we came out in the hallway, we went into the second bedroom, so we're still on the D side, and this is where the window's at. Based on our 360, I assume there's 3 rooms on this side, so we should be right in the middle of the structure. And be aware of your surroundings. Be aware of possibly what room you're in, what the room may look like if you can see it, what hazards may be in play as well. So 3 Mayday situations that we're gonna come into. Possible one that we're gonna come into is entanglement. And entanglement's gonna happen more than likely due to a ceiling collapse. So the ceiling collapses, we get entangled in cables and wires and everything else. And when we have the back trailer here, we're gonna put you in a situation where you're going to have the possibility of being entangled, okay? So, multiple ways to get out of the entanglement. First most appropriate way to get out of the entanglement is to do what? You've crawled into it, back out of it, okay? Another situation you can do if you can't get back out, something else you can do is if you have the tools on you, is to do what to the entanglement?
Cut it.
Cut it, okay? I carry trauma shears in my bunker gear. Okay, why do I carry them in my bunker gear? Because they work really well on seatbelted car accidents. Okay? But trauma shears will cut most wires. Okay? For crying out loud, trauma shears will cut a penny. It'll do it once, but it will cut a penny. Okay? So that's the second option. If that option doesn't work for you, so you're entangled, you can't back out of it, you have no way to cut your way out of it, we need to call a mayday. Okay? Air emergencies. Regulator goes bad. We made a mistake. We didn't pay attention to our air supply. We got into a situation where we became lost or disoriented, and now we're running low on air. That becomes a mayday emergency. Okay? Thermal emergencies, it just plain got hot. Too hot. And collapse or entrapment. So you're on the second story collapsed, you got entangled in it, and you can't get back out. So immediate communication is going to increase that chance of survival. So if you're in immediate danger, we need to transmit the mayday, we need to activate our pass, which will put us in direct communication with your IC. But they're gonna need to know who you are, what's the problem, where you're at. And once you radio out that mayday, you don't move. You're there. That's where you're at, because that's where they plan on finding you. So if you radio out a mayday that you're in the CD corner of the second structure and you are low on air, IC is probably more than likely going to activate what?
RIT.
A RIT team, okay? RIT team is a rapid intervention team. Basically their job is they're gonna come in with a second cylinder that's a little bit more air in it than we normally carry. They're gonna have the ability to tag into you, give you the air you need, and get you out. They're gonna go in expecting to find you where? Second story, CD corner, right? Well, you get to the CD corner, you call your mayday, you realize, hey, I can get to the C side, middle of the structure, and there's a window right there. But in order to do so, you had to come out of one room and then down the hallway to the next. Well, that RIT team shows up and you're not in the CD corner where they expected you to be. Now they have a problem. Okay? Does everybody have a RIT pack? Have you ever seen a RIT pack? You guys have. Harley? You know what a RIT pack looks like? Okay. We've got ours here, don't we?
What's in the equipment truck?
The equip truck? Okay. You guys seen one? Okay, we'll show. Basically what they are is they're a spare bottle. Your normal bottle that we carry on our back is a 4500. Our RIT pack should be a 6. Should be at least a 45. It should be at least the same, if not bigger. It'll carry a connection hose, because every pack is required to have a RIT connection in the back. And we'll show you what that is in the back, how you can connect. And then you'll be able to hook it up from the RIT pack directly into your bottle. It'll basically hot fill into your bottle, so you can either run off of the RIT pack, or we can feed you air to give you enough air to get you out on your own without having to tag you along with another. So there's the acronym LUNARS to remember what information you need to give in a mayday situation. So you're gonna call a mayday. Okay? You're gonna get to your spot that you're at, you're in your distress point, whether it be entanglement or whatever. You're gonna stop, collect yourself first, take a couple breaths, realize that, yep, I'm in a bad spot. You're gonna hit the radio key, and you're gonna call 3 times, Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. Wait a little bit, Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. I am located at the 2nd story CD corner. This is Interior Attack Team 1, Firefighter Bell. I was doing search and rescue. I am entanglement, so I need a way, I need to be cut out. And I will also need a RIP team because I, again, will be low on air. My location, my assignment name, my name, what I was doing, and what I need to get out. IC at that point in time will hear your radio communication. They should repeat that. You are located at the 2nd story CD corner. Fire team, attack team 1, or search and rescue team 1. Firefighter Bell, you were doing search and rescue. You are entangled and will be low on air. All other radio communications should stop at that point in time because the priority task is what?
Job.
Our brothers. Okay? So there it is. Mayday traffic only. That channel is now allocated for Mayday situations. All non-essential activities cease and search begins. And the RIT team is dispatched. Listen closely to radio transmissions being made because you may be able to assist that downed firefighter if you're close by. So search team 2 may be on the BC corner, hear the radio communications, and they may say, hey, we're right there. Follow the orders. Communicate with your IC. IC, this is rescue, or this is search and rescue team 2. We are located on the 2nd story BC corner. Would you like us to assist team 1? Don't just do it, make sure they know you're doing it. Because if they expect you to still be doing search and rescue, and you start freelancing, and now they send a RIP team up, now we have 5 to 6 firefighters assisting 2, when they only expected to have maybe 3. They may order everybody to exit. Everybody should have an exit signal for their certain department, whether it be air horns or Q sirens. Hounds Parks is what?
3 air horns.
3 air
3
horns.
bursts.
Hartley's is 3 air horn blast. Armstrong's is.
No idea.
There you go. Now you have an assignment for Thursday. Why is it key to know what your evac signal is? Because once you hear it, time to go. The reason that it's nice that everybody uses 3 air horn blasts is also key to doing what? Mutual aid. Because when mutual aid comes in, if they understand that everybody uses that, they understand it because they know that's the way out. They also know that if they're responding in their units and they're getting close, what are they not gonna use? The air horn. Okay, because if they're gonna go clear an intersection and they start hitting the air horn, and all of a sudden you're inside and you hear faintly 3 air horns, you think it's time to go. When in all actuality, it was just a responding neighborhood unit, another neighboring unit arriving that just happened to use their air horn. Like I said, recognize your department's evac signals. Most of the time, it's 3 air horns. It works because the trucks are running, so the air tanks are full, okay? They're loud, they go out, they go out, they go out, okay? Some departments have Q sirens, okay? Not all will do, so you can't always use Q sirens. Maybe that truck's not there, or, you know, or there's other incidences.
Last evac that I heard was when you were inside. Not at Zippers.
I was having fun.
pretty eerie when you have all those trucks honking.
Right? It's having fun. I saw no problem whatsoever. I did not see the large refrigeration unit above my head. That was about to fall. So, yeah. Yep, that was 3 air horns. Me and my partner looked at each other and went, oh, guess we gotta go. You know, you don't even get to question it. Once you hear them, blah, 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 go. Okay, turn around, get yourself out. Luckily for that fire, we were all of 20 feet inside the door. Literally, we just had to crawl over a couple things and, you know, crawl over this part of the ceiling, crawl over this part of a wall, and we walked
Are you
out.
pulling your hose back out with you, or are you just grabbing and going?
Try to take the hose with you. So I've been in a few incidences where I've heard the air horn. That was one. The other one was the hill out of the West Street fire in Wapaton, where that was the one I was telling you guys about. The fire was literally coming out the roof, the doorway, when we were making exit. And that was, everybody was going. I kicked everybody else out because I was officer inside, and I was the last one. The last thing I did was grab the nozzle and just started going, you know. Hopefully they're outside, and when they get outside, they grab the hose and they can start pulling it as well. I just grabbed the nozzle and walked it out as well. Because in theory, that is your lifeline, you know, that's your protection to get out the doors, so. That's the 2 instances I've been in, that I've been at a point of evac was necessary, and the air horns have gone off, and it was time to get out. So, cause you don't know what's going on out there. Like I said, with the Zippers fire, there was that unit over our head, and we didn't see it. We just saw roof, and we figured we were all right, not knowing that, you know, you had a large unit above your head that was possible to go down, so. Know your point of no return, that goes for your air supply. You know, at this point in time, you can't go any further, cause I don't have enough air, so we need to start going backwards. When it gets into that search and rescue side of it, if you're doing rules of right on your way in, and you gotta turn around, we turn around, and we're now using what to get ourselves out? Use the left. We went in on the right, we're going out on the left, if we have to turn around at any point in time. Check your air gauge regularly. That way you know what your point of no return is. 50% is the rule. The rule for 50% works pretty well because you used a lot of air because you were working slowly to get to where you're at. But you know that once you're at 50%, you won't need all 50% to get home because it's a little faster. You already made that path, you didn't have to take your time, you could just scoot your way out. But remember, we always go off the rule of we go out when the first person hits 50%. I may be at, you know, if it's 4,000 in each one of our tanks, if I'm at 25 and he's at 2, we go on 2 because it took him that much to get in, it won't take me as much to get out. We can leave only under certain circumstances as an individual. If we're separated or it's a catastrophic event, as a team, if we receive a command from an IC or supervisor. Know how to react in an air emergency is essential. You gotta stay calm. Follow your procedures. Meaning, know what works for you. Okay? Conserve your air, it always improves your chances. Whether it works to skip breathe, or whether it works to just, like I said, talk. You know, the key is to remain calm. Well, every time you put that pack on, practice it. Do something that works for you, that helps you conserve your air. I said, if it works, for me, it works just to talk, okay? I get stuck in that trailer for the fire service training bureau. I'll be sitting in there going through evolutions through teams. It works for me when I'm not doing anything and I'm waiting for the next team to come down and I'm smoking the thing up and heating it up a little bit. I just sit in the corner. Well, I'm in a big metal box with fire, I can't see anything, and I'm by myself. What else am I gonna do? So I talk to myself. So, good thing that there's no radio on me, because people think I'm nuts. Probably am anyway, but that's okay. So let's talk about what survival actions firefighters can take when needed. And then talk about the RIT teams located in the downed firefighter. So choose a course of action. Remain in place, seek a safe shelter, or escape. Okay? In a Mayday event, monitor your surroundings, situational awareness. Do we stay in place? We're calling a Mayday. The best thing to do is to find a safe location at that point in time when we call that Mayday if possible. So we want to be safe. Or, you know, if you have the ability to escape, or you know a route of escape that you can forward to that team. So we communicated our Mayday over the radio, activated our pass device. Everybody knows how to activate their pass device in an emergency situation. Whether on the ISIs, it's just that button right on top, or on the Scots, whichever yours is. Tap the floor, make some noise, shine the light directly overhead. Periodically turn the pass device off and listen. Maybe somebody's yelling, maybe you hear something else, but then right back on. Breathe slowly, stay low, stay calm. If it helps, if you have the ability, in a training scenario, to put yourself in a situation of almost what you feel is distress, just so you can understand how to calm yourself. Don't put yourself in a situation that if you don't get out of it, you're gonna get hurt. But put yourself in a situation where you feel like you could be stressed, and just work on trying to stay calm through that. Okay? You know, if you have the ability to do confinement training, you know, get one of those big irrigation tubes and try to crawl through it with your back on, and then get stuck, or what you think might be stuck. But when you get to that point that you think you might be stuck, don't freak out. That's when that training kicks in, that you work on being calm. Okay? There's that stay low. Use your hose stream, but it can be also dangerous. If it starts to get too hot in there, you can steam yourself down. Close doors if you can. Show your building materials with your tools. And if you run out of air, for some ungodly reason that you never have to, God willing you never have to, you know, use that hood to filter out any of the toxic air. So we get into a situation where we need to escape. These are the reasons why. We have an imminent threat of collapse. There's no safe shelter area. Our air supply is completely exhausted. Extreme fire conditions are imminent. We can tell that that flashover is about to happen. Or we've been told we got to get out now. Know your responsibilities and your roles when you're trying to get out. Make sure your team is intact. If there's two of you, you're both there. Escape as a unit using your search line or your hose line. Do not leave your nozzle. It is your lifeline. Become separated from your team. You use your hose line or the wall. It says use your couplings to determine direction. Okay? So it shows that coupling there. Okay? So you've got smooth, bump, bump. Okay? So the smooth and bump is the what side of the connection? Female. male side is the single bump, right? Okay? So smooth bump, bump. That's one way of thinking of it. Okay, you come to a connection, smooth bump, bump. Bump is to the truck, bump to truck. Okay? There are other acronyms or other ways of thinking of how to use it. Some of them are not appropriate, especially on videotape. So when the video's not running, ask me and I will tell you at that point in time. Just like everything, trying to escape a structure, the first thing is to stay calm. Maintain control of your nozzle. Use your points of reference. You've got the hose in your hand, because we always have that, that's our lifeline, so we should always maintain contact. And if we're trying to go backwards, go back to the truck, it's smooth bump, bump. So even if you come to a situation where you come disoriented and you finally find the hose, go until you find a connection, and then you know, based on that connection, which way to go to get out. Contact with the wall, radio contact. Remember which level of structure you're on. You will become disoriented, could become disoriented. Keep a nice, calm, firm head about yourself. Keep your head on your shoulders. That's the biggest struggle you'll fight. Control your breathing. Check and report on your air supply. There's the crawling method or the duck walk. I can't duck walk, so I just knee drag, because round is a shape. Notice he found the window ledge. As he searched for an exit, located the wall. Sweep floor with one hand. Swept the wall with the other hand, found the window. Determine if the window allows for an exit. Depends on the story you're on, what story of the window it is, which side of the building it is. Notify command, ask about the conditions. I don't know about you, it looks like they parked that aerial right in front of a minivan. Alright. Gotta back that truck up about 3 more feet. So if you're on the ground floor, here's some steps to exit a window. Break it. Clear it. Climb through, feet first to the ground. Upper story. Find out if the aerial's in the area or a ground ladder's nearby. If not, report the location and need for one. Escape rope system if trained. Yeah, not me. I'd fall. Last resorts. Do we have this training prop, Mike? The wall prop?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll work on that. Breaching a wall. Using your tool. Okay, 16 inches on center, so the wall's 16 inches on center, how big's the hole? Probably
14 and a half.
14 and a half?
Yeah.
Hope you're skinny. I'm not so skinny. There's different ways of getting through depending on techniques and how you wanna do it. These both show with the pack still on. There is techniques for taking the pack off and doing it. We'll work on that. Mayday before you try to disentangle yourself. Like I said, if you got caught going in, just try and back it out real quick. What happens a lot of time is by the time you realize you're caught here, wires have come back around and now they're tangled in behind you, so when you try to back out, it's stuck on both sides. Talks a little bit about RIT, NFPA 1500 and the OSHA at any hazard zone. States it's required. It's 2 firefighters are prepared for rescue. So basically what they're saying is OSHA and NFPA 1500 state that 2 lucky individuals get to sit in lawn chairs through the entire fire, ready to go at any point in time to save their fellow brothers. Okay? So they get to sit there and hope nothing, absolutely nothing goes wrong. You gotta be trained, they're in full PPE, and more than one team may be assigned. Depending on the size of the incident, you may have multiple RIT teams. Do not underestimate the time and personnel required to rescue a downed firefighter. Carrying 1 unconscious firefighter can require 4 rescuers, and fully removing the firefighter from the hazard zone can require up to 12. Process can take up as long as 20 minutes to complete. Some mandatory equipment for that RIT team. The acronyms are LAIR, air, water, a radio, extrication. So air is the RIT bag, it's got the air in it. Water's the hose line. You carry your radio on us. And extrication is you have tools available to you, whether it's a axe, Halligan, some type of physical cutting device, wire snips, stuff like that. Either can be carried on the person or in the bag. Most of the time, if you're a RIT team member, you're gonna have that stuff carried on you, or you're trained with your bag well enough that you understand what is in your bag, what equipment you have available to you. Okay? So there's the tools that are available to a RIT team. Notice the RIT bags, extra tanks, backboards, saws, rope bags, lights. Obviously that's not stuff that we're all gonna carry, but it's stuff that we may, at some point in time, as a member of the RIT team, may need to use. After Mayday's been called, the RIT team's gonna follow these instructions as they've been received. Radio contact's been made, RIT team 1. IC may order brief shutdown to listen. Unsuccessful, you follow the hose line to the last known location. Stop frequently to listen and sound for pass device or calls for help. New PAC systems have digital transmissions available to them. They're still kind of in their infancy program, but they are becoming more prevalent, and they're really working the kinks out to them. So, they basically, the PAC can transmit to a base computer that can kind of give you an idea of where you're at. They also run off of Bluetooth, so you can have better radio communications. I think when we get into looking at PACs for us, if you look at what Scott and MSA have available to them, you'd be surprised as to what these PACs have the ability or will have the ability to do. You can check your air supply, deactivated pass devices, and this is when you've located a downed firefighter. Excuse me. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna check that air supply, see where they're at, see if we need to give them that air. Deactivate their pass device, because they're loud. We wanna be able to have communication. And make sure that the individual that you found is the individual that you knew you were looking for. Any necessary resources you may need or any more help. Mitigate any hazards, put any extra fire out that may be the problem, and then move them to safe shelter if necessary. Exiting an IDLH area, takes priority over stabilizing any injuries, life over limb, okay? Somebody can tell me what IDLH stands for.
Immediately dangerous to life and health.
Yep, immediate danger to life and health. Make sure that SCBA is functioning as it's supposed to be, remove the firefighter from the hazardous atmosphere. So this is your rip back connection. That's the tubing into the rip connection into the back. New NFPA requirements require that there is a light that actually shines on that connection at all times. So when the pack is activated, there's a light that shines to that rip connection. Makes it easier to find. Don't ever remove your face piece or compromise the proper operation of it to share your air supply, not even with another firefighter. I know it sounds selfish, but we already have one down, we don't need two. So the first priority in any structural fire is that of survival, both of the individual and any fellow firefighters. In order to meet these goals, a firefighter must learn to size up a situation, practice situational awareness, manage your air supply, and remove victims to safety. Also need to know your maydays, procedures, master any self-rescue techniques, breaching walls, stuff like that. Be able to locate and rescue a downed firefighter as part of a RIT team. This is all things that we're gonna do, part of the skill sheet. Okay. I'll let Mike or Jed click their buttons if they need to click. I will give you my little stories about search and rescue real quick while one of them do that. I've been in two situations where I've had to do search and rescue for an individual. First situation I did, and this is the one that haunts me and it will haunt me for the rest of my life. Milford was paged to a trailer fire down on 6th Street with occupants inside. We arrived on scene, two adult occupants had been pulled out by a bystander through a bedroom window. We were aware of a 3-year-old that was still inside. My partner and I made the decision to re-enter the structure through the bedroom window that the two adult individuals had been pulled from. Did a primary search of the bedroom. My partner at that time thought he had found a bedroom door. Opened up what he believed was the bedroom door. It was actually a hallway door, and it quickly took everything that was going on in the living room and dumped it on us. It got dark, it got hot, it got fast. I mean, it was quick. At that point in time, my partner and I both bailed. We left the axe inside. We took the hose with us, but we left the axe inside. So we bailed out. Still hadn't found our victim yet. Went around to, as most of you know, trailers have a door on the front side and possibly a door on the back. Went to the door on the back side, opened up the back side door, and found tubs of crap. Clothes, everything else. Removed all that stuff, reached inside and found our 3-year-old victim. He was already perished. Pulled him out, laid him on the tarp, and that was the unfortunate part of that. 3 months later, Milford got paged to the hotel fire. They're on the main drag in town. This is where I say, earlier when I said, you get there thinking you're gonna be there to put out a fire. We were in